Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Yappers Club. Hello, we are in my bedroom. Unfortunately, the sheets are not pink. Yes, they're not pink today because, hey, you gotta wash them sometimes. Sometimes you gotta wash the sheets, girl. If you have dirty sheets, go wash them right now. Also, we have a pink vibe today going on. I have the Yappers Club neon sign. Believe me, I do have one. If you don't believe me, you can just, imagine that I do, but I do. Anyways, I had to go to the emergency again. I had to go to the emergency room again, guys. So that's why there wasn't another episode, which I am sorry about. I desperately have to apologize because, girls, my intestines, I learned that I have IBS. And if you don't know what IBS is, българските, слушатели, which all of you are Bulgarian, съмнявам се, че ме слуша някой англичанин или американец, but anyways, IBS basically means синдром на раздразненото черво. You can look that up. Червата ми буквално са, they hate me, basically. So I had to go to the ER again because I was dying. И сега съм на, I don't know, like a couple of pills here and there. I'm drugged out of my mind, guys. I am losing my mind. But anyways, I'm very hyper today because I feel good. And I decided, hey, I have to fucking record. It's my it's my job to record at this point. I have to talk to a camera. It's what I'm getting paid for, which I'm not getting paid for yet. But maybe next year. We hope. But anyways, before we start, I want to say it's been an amazing month so far. I can't describe to you, although had to go to the ER twice last month and this month. It's okay. It's fine. Other than that, I've been having a blast. I've been thinking a lot about things and, just entering an era of my life that I never thought I would enter, which is literally just solitude, just like enjoying my company too much. I love staying home. As you know, or you don't know, I'm a person who loves staying home. Like, girl, if I can stay home all the damn time, I would. I love going out, don't get me wrong. I love going out with the girls. I love getting dressed because I have too many clothes and I have to wear them somewhere. If I had to choose, I would rather stay home. And now I started reading books again, which, shocker, I can read, Hey, I can read. But other than that, I've just been enjoying staying home too much. And I was thinking a lot, what should I talk about? And one thing specifically stood out to me because I've been thinking about this I think about this a lot, but I never really recorded an episode on it or never really talked about it that much because I feel like it's stupid and no one really gives a fuck. But at the same time, this is the Yappers Club and all we do is yap about bullshit. So if you take anything from this episode, it's just, that'd be great, Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will remind you at the end of the episode again because I need subscribers and I need likes. I'm joking. I need likes, I need subscribers, I need views. Guys, please spare me a like. Spare me a view or two. Share it with your family. I have my iPad here, so it's fucking serious. So guys, my cat is going insane again because I closed all the doors because I want peace and quiet. And if you see him roaming around or you hear meowing, just trust me, he's okay. But as I was saying, I have my iPad here, which means it's fucking serious. Today's episode we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about narcissism and pretty privilege and confidence, maybe. Who knows? But let's start off by just reading what a narcissistic person is. I think we just need a definition first so I can go off of that because as we all know, I'm a fucking idiot. Narcissistic personality disorder. I didn't know this was a personality disorder. I thought people were just narcissistic just because, I just thought, I didn't know this was a personality disorder. But anyways, narcissistic personality disorder is a complex and heterogeneous mental health condition characterized by patterns of grandiosity, entitlement, low empathy, and interpersonal difficulties, which can manifest as either grandiose or vulnerable forms. Symptoms. Oh my God, there's symptoms? Exaggerated feelings of self-importance, excessive craving for admiration, reduced levels of empathy. Treatment. You can treat yourself, girl. So listen. Psychotherapy. Pharmaceuticals for commort some disorders. You can get pills if you want to get better. Causes: a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Social theories of NPD are weak. NPD, yes. Social theories of NPD are weak, and causality isn't clear. So basically, to me, a narcissistic person, from what I'm getting, I know a narcissistic person. I've dated one. In my idea, maybe he's not narcissistic. He wasn't narcissistic, but in my mind, he was a little bit. But okay, here we go. So basically, a narcissistic person is someone who is full of themselves, loves getting praised for everything they do. They love getting praised. They love getting admiration for the things that they do, even simple as literally drinking water. And they have low empathy, which is definitely not me because I'm an empath. If you didn't know, I'm an empath. But to me, narcissism is something that we all experience, I think, in one way or another. Because when I was growing up, I used to not be the most confident person, which is not a surprise. I mean, I've talked about how insecure I was so many times. I'm still insecure in some ways, some levels, whether that be physical appearance or, just like my skills in general. But I've grown to accept those insecurities and just like live with them. But that doesn't mean I'm still not insecure about those things. You know what I mean? But to me, narcissism, sometimes people falsely accuse someone of being narcissistic just because they're confident in themselves and they love the way they look or they're proud of their skills, which is not a surprise because most of us are not that confident and most of us are a little bit insecure here and there. And when we see someone that's confident in the way they look, the way they, go around the world and like do things, we get jealous of them because obviously you would get jealous of someone who's confident when you're insecure, that is. But that shouldn't, and we automatically assume like they're narcissistic. Yeah, that's a narcissistic behavior because they're so full of themselves. And trust me, girl, I've seen people who are full of themselves. За мен повечето пъти нарцисизма е самочувствие без покритие. Един вид въздух под налягане. You know what I mean? Because you can be confident. Confidence is key in everything. Like every person should be confident, don't get me wrong. And confident the way they look, the way they do things, everything. You should be confident in what you do, how you feel, in everything. Because confidence unlocks a lot of doors and makes you feel better. That is to say, when you are confident with no specific reason, maybe just the way you look, you turn out to be like just like full of yourself. Which I've seen people like this. I've talked to many narcissistic people because I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what a narcissistic person is. That is to say, I think I have dated a narcissist before. I'm not sure, but that person really did have a little bit of some symptoms here and there. I'm not saying he was a narcissist because that would just mean I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and I really don't. But in my 23 years of living, I've noticed that a lot of people get mistaken for being narcissistic just because, they're confident in what they do and how they look. And I used to get called narcissistic or самовлюбен, which is, I feel like it's the same thing. Because като бяхме по-малки, не ползвахме думата нарцисист because we're fucking teenagers. What the fuck do we know about narcissism? И след като аз съм задел лъв и повечето пъти аз, когато говоря с някой смисъл, аз съм някакво, I'm like the best, I'm like so sexy and so like kind and like, waist is small because I just love making fun of myself. Like it's like most of the times when I'm talking about how pretty I am or how sexy I am or how talented and gorgeous and funny and blah, 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 that just means that I'm making fun of myself. It's not that I don't mean it. I do feel as though I am, those things. I'm not saying that I'm not confident in what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I'm making it a joke. Because you can tell when someone is joking about that thing, and you can tell when someone is like serious, like, oh yeah, I'm better than everyone, Because most of the times in my teenage years, I was called narcissistic. People thought I was so full of myself, and I did not give a fuck about anyone else. And maybe I didn't. Who knows? Because I grew up in a different, situation. When I was younger, I was evil. And I didn't really have, it's not to say I didn't have empathy for people. I just really hated myself. And for me to hate myself, that just unlocked something else in my brain, which people might consider narcissistic. I think I just hated my life and hated myself and everything. So I think it was like a coping mechanism to think like I'm better than everyone else and I don't have empathy for everyone else and just, just care about me, which in reality, bitch, I fucking didn't. That is to say, when I, actually matured and actually, got to working on myself, I did realize, okay, maybe you should be a little bit narcissistic, because narcissism is always considered something terrible. And I'm not saying that it's not terrible, because most narcissistic people are evil to me. Because if you have zero empathy for everyone else other than yourself, and the only thing you care about is getting admiration and getting praised by other people, or like you're looking for some kind of validation from like society, that's just evil to me. That's just sad. Because most narcissistic people are not, they're not really, they love themselves. Don't get me wrong. They think they're always right. They think they're on top of everyone else, because that's just how a narcissistic brain works. To me, that's just my opinion. We did read what narcissism is. But to me, narcissistic people are not even that confident. Because if you always have to say it out loud и трябва да го покажеш постоянно и да докажеш и да говориш постоянно колко си по-добър от всичките и как ти си различен, ти не си като останалите, нали, така и така и така и така. That just means like you're insecure to me. Like, because a real confident person, like real confidence comes from within to me. And you don't have to always be talking about, oh my God, I'm so much better than everyone else. Like, these bitches can never be me. Like, I can do this better than them. I'm prettier, I'm skinny. Like, it's just, because it just shows that you're insecure about those things. And you want people to validate what you're feeling. You want someone to agree with what you're saying. So за да можеш един вид, in a way, да си храниш егото. Because narcissism comes from a really, really, really high ego to me. I mean, it doesn't make any other sense. Because, let's say, for example, you have low self-esteem and you're not that confident, and your ego is not like a normal, it's under the normal amount of ego a person should have. You're not going to be talking about like, oh, I'm so much better than everyone else. Like, you bitches, it's like, but there is that tiny bit of insecurity every time you're talking to a narcissistic person. And you can tell by the way they're talking about themselves. And when you ask them about someone else, they'll briefly go around, they'll be like, oh yeah, this person did that, but I did this. So you have to, admire me for what I did, even though someone else did the same thing as me, but I did it better because I'm better than them, in a way. And it's just weird. It's just weird behavior, because if you have to talk about yourself 24/7, bitch, there's clearly some insecurity going on there. And you're not all that confident. But, пак казвам, има и хора със самочувствие без покритие. Има хора, които са въздух под налягане, които си мислят наистина, че са по-добри от останалите, че са най-добрите във всичко, което правят, и за това как изглеждат. Особено за това как изглеждат, защото има хора, които are so full of themselves just because they look attractive. And the thing is about attractiveness, I've always thought about attractiveness as something that's, you see someone attractive in your way. I see someone attractive in my own way. Physical appearance, we're talking. And for you to claim that you're more attractive than someone else just because your standards of attractiveness are one certain way, it doesn't mean you're the most attractive person, or it doesn't mean that you're more attractive than someone else just because you see yourself in a specific attractiveness level, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. I just sound stupid. But anyways, and it's just weird. It's always been weird to me that people are so, because, I can vouch for myself. I mean, I've always cared about how I look. It's not a surprise. На мен винаги ме интересува как ще изглеждам физически, как ще изглеждам на снимка, как ще изглеждам отстрани, как ще изглеждам на камера, и затова може би супер дълго време не снимах, на камера подкаста, because I thought I had to look good 24/7. I had to look kind. I had to look good. I had to, the background had to be perfect, and everything had to be perfect so people like watch me. And I realized that, bitch, no one is gonna watch you. Even if you're the hottest bitch alive, no one's gonna fucking watch you just because you're hot. People watch people, and people are interested in people because people are interesting, because of their personality, not just because you're pretty. And, there are some cases where people just look at or listen to specific people. Or let's say, for example, you're watching someone that's very attractive, very hot, very sexy, and you're watching and you're consuming their content just because they look good, which I've been a victim to that. I can't lie, but I'm not saying that every pretty bitch on this earth is boring, because that's not fucking true, but society has made it that way. I've noticed that буквално всяко второ момиче, for example, or every other man or woman, depends, but it's mostly women. Повечето хора имат представа, че ако си красива жена или красив мъж, ти нямаш, нали, нищо друго, освен това, че си красив. And it's just stupid to me, because don't get me wrong, it's not that it's not true. In some cases it is true, because some bitches are only just pretty. Like, the most evil bitches are pretty, let me tell you. I have had my fair share of drama with pretty bitches, and pretty bitches are evil. Not all of them, but some of them are kind of fucking evil and insane. But there is ugly bitches who are evil. So, I mean, either way, if you're evil, you're just evil. But when you're pretty and evil, we can excuse the evilness just because, you know, you look good, which has always been fucking stupid. And those people, to me, that just screams narcissism. You know, when you have no empathy for anyone other than yourself, and you always have to talk about yourself in a way that's looking for validation and admiration from everyone around you, just because you can't give it to yourself, or you're not, you know, confident enough in what you're saying. So you have to like make it a big deal about what you're doing and how you look. So, you know, people can give you a compliment, or people can give you the validation that you crave. And it's just sad, because narcissism to me is just a sad disorder. You know, I don't know enough about narcissism, because I'm not narcissistic. I always say this as a joke, but I am fully serious that right now, and I've always been an empath, but I've just never been able to fully, you know, embrace that part of myself, because I just always thought that, okay, if you look a certain way, if you look good enough for society, then it's going to be fine. Because if you don't have a personality, or you don't show your real personality, and you just look good, you know, aesthetically pleasing for people to look at, you're going to be fine in life, which is a really fucked up way of thinking. And it took me a long time to like get over that and be like, okay, bitch, if you don't look the best, it's fine. If you have a personality, then that's all you need, because people are interested in you because of your personality, not because the way you look. Depends on the people, that is, you know, because most of my life I was seen as an object, you know, of desire. That's not to say I was, you know, struggling with it, but it was a really hard thing for me to, you know, get over, because every time I talked to someone, they would always tell me like, oh, people talk to you because you look good. People want to date you, especially in my dating life. I've always heard that sentence. People want to date you because you look good. People don't want to date you because you're interesting, because you're not interesting. People want to date you because they want something from you, which means in most cases, we know what that means, you know, and I really struggled with that. And for a long time, I craved that specific validation, especially in my dating life, just because I said to myself, if I look good, then I'll get everyone. I'll be able to date people, and people are going to be interested in me because I look good. And I was so focused in the way I dressed, in the way I looked, in the pictures I was taking, and everything was so specific. It was so toxic. And it took me such a long time to get over that. And right now, even if I take like a sexy picture or like a thirst trap or whatever it is and post it, most people will just say like, oh, he's doing it for attention. He knows he's fucking doing it for attention. He's not doing it for himself. And for the most part, I used to do it only for attention. I used to do it only for people to give me compliments and give me, you know, boost my ego, which I didn't have. And now, if I post something that's like sexy or like a cool post, I'm just going to post it for me and the girls, obviously, but mostly for me, because when I look good now, I just admire myself and I'm like happy that I look good, because for a long time, I wasn't confident enough in myself. So I had to like fake it in a way, so people would think I was confident in myself and take those specific pictures just so people believed the mask I was putting on. People would like see me as the thing I was trying to cosplay as, which was confident and sexy and talented, which I did not believe that I was any of those things. But when you are getting that admiration, which is most of the time is not fake, but it's not genuine, you know, because to me, when you get a compliment, especially when you're fishing for them, when you're fishing for a compliment and you get that compliment, to me, that's just not a real compliment. I'm sorry. Like, It just doesn't make sense to me because you're fishing for that compliment. You want that compliment. You're doing everything in your power to get that compliment, to get that validation, to get that admiration from people. And when you do get it, it's like, oh my God, it's perfect. Like, they were right. I knew I was that. And it's not true, bitch, because you asked for it. Because let's say, for example, the most basic example I can give you is I can ask someone, do I look pretty? And they say yes, automatically. Which in my case, I've asked people, I do tend to ask that question a lot, but I ask it as a joke to me, because in my case, every time I say, oh my God, I look kind, I look good, I look sexy, I look kind, and like, am I pretty, am I sexy, is the ways, like, you know, every time I talk like this, most of the times it's a joke, because I take everything in my life as a joke, especially if it's towards me, if it's connected to me, I make it a joke because it's not that fucking serious. And I used to really care about what people thought of me in a physical aspect, in the way it looked. I really was so focused on how I would look in a picture. How would people see me when I'm walking down the street? If someone would notice that I look, you know, a specific way, you know? And it really fucked with my brain, because I thought like, oh, like you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way even, so people would like accept you, and like you actually would be able to get admiration from people. And I realized, girl, the only admiration you need is from yourself. And when you are confident within yourself and you're not fishing for those compliments, for that admiration, you're not looking for that validation, you get it naturally. And it's been mind-blowing to me, especially with this podcast and with everything I'm doing online. It's crazy to me that people actually genuinely want to listen to what I have to say, and like are interested in what I'm saying, and are giving me genuine compliments in what I'm saying, or how I look, even just because I'm being honest and being open, and I'm showing actually my real personality, and not just like the facade I was trying to put on for so long. And it's really mind-blowing to me that for a long time I was so focused on getting people's approval or getting that validation from someone else, because I couldn't get it for myself. And to me, that's another part of narcissism, because the only thing you care about is getting something from someone else and not really caring of what you give back, you know? Because when you are insecure, let's say, and you are looking for any validation, whether that be about your physical appearance or about what you did, or, you know, you're trying to show off in a way, that's also, to me, narcissism in a way. I don't know, that just makes sense to me. If you don't agree, girl, that's fine. That's just how my brain works. And yeah, so let's move on to the other topic, which is pretty privilege. And it is connected in a way with confidence and narcissism. Let's just read what the definition of pretty privilege is, because I know what pretty privilege is, but maybe you don't. So let me read it out for you, so we're aware of what we're talking about. So I look very studious, and like it looks like I know what I'm talking about, which in reality I really don't most of the time. I'm not here, girl. I'm dissociating. So yeah. Pretty privilege is the unearned societal advantage people receive by fitting into conventional beauty standards. I mean, need I say more? Need I say more? Just because you fit into that little box, you get some little fucking rewards from society. Whether that could mean relationships, jobs, you can get into a bar if you're pretty enough, you can get into a restaurant, you can get a discount, you can be excused of a lot of things if you look pretty. Especially if you're a woman and you fit into that specific box of society's beauty standards, you automatically get passes for a lot of things. I'm not saying that if you're pretty, you get passes all the time, because that's not the case. But sometimes, whether that be the place that you're living in, you're going to a restaurant, whatever it may be, you might get a pass just because you look good. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because bitch, if you look good and you're getting free things and you're getting like fucking prizes and stuff and a little discount here and there, girl, that's you. All power to you, queen. I could never. That is to say, it's happened to me as well. I have used my pretty privileges as a way of getting things and doing things, which is not good. I'm not saying that you should do this, because that's not the right way to do things. If you want to do something, literally use your brain and your skills, not the way you look. But if you have an opportunity to use your looks for getting something, I mean, all power to you, because I've done it. I think we've all done it in a way, whether that be to date someone, whether that be to get into a restaurant, whether that be to get a discount, anything. We've used our the way we look or our charisma to get out of things, which is not a bad thing, because if you got it, bitch, you got it. If you can do the work, you can do the work. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that also could be considered narcissism in a way, because I mean, you're using your physical appearance to get privileges, which is really unfair to people who are not fitting that standard that you are fitting in. You know, let me give you the best example, Madison Beer. If you put me next to Madison Beer, I'll look like a goblin. Fully. I'll look like a goblin. I'll look disgusting. And people would notice her more than me, which is obviously, like, that's not surprising. I mean, Madison Beer, like, we've seen the way she looks. Like, she's amazing. She's gorgeous. But she's not doing things just because she's pretty. She's not getting things just because she's pretty. Her career and everything she's doing is straightly and only because she is talented in what she's doing, and she is good at what she's doing, and she's receiving love because of her art. But there are some cases where people, notice Madison Beer, especially, for example, just because she's pretty, and they only care about, she's a pretty girl, she can't really fucking sing, she can't do this, she's getting all these things just because she's pretty. And it's really fucked up, because that way you're putting people down who are not even doing that. Because in most cases, I've noticed that pretty privilege is used in normal society, like not celebrities, not like influencers. Pretty privilege is something we use, like the normal humans use, the normal people use, the normies. I think in most cases we use it more than the celebrities do, because we want the admiration that they're getting, or we want something and we don't know how to get it, and we're like, oh, if I fit into this specific standard, this specific box of attractiveness, I'll get this and this and this. And as I said, all power to you, but that is considered narcissism, because you are using yourself as a way of getting things, and the way you look as a way of getting things, which, I mean, it's a little weird, because then you're not leaving people with a good impression on you, because they'll say, oh, like, she's only pretty, she can't do anything else. You're really leaving people with a bad impression, which I'm not saying that you should care about what people think about you, or, be influenced and be influenced by other people's opinions about you. But it is a little bit fucked up, where it does get to a point where the only thing you're known about is like, oh, she's only pretty, like, she can't do anything else. Meanwhile, you can do anything else, but most of your life you notice that you've gotten opportunities for the wrong reasons, for the way you look, not because of your skills, for example. And it's always been weird to me, because I used to do that all the time. I'll be like, okay, I'm pretty enough, I can do this, this, and this. And I did. And it really messed with my brain, because I thought, okay, so if I'm pretty enough, I get all the opportunities. But then you forget your personality, and you kind of become a little bit shallow. And you're like, oh, I mean, I don't really have any other skills, because you convince yourself, even if you do have those skills, you do have those talents, you're good at, let's say, basketball, for example, you do forget all of those things, just because for a long time you've only focused on the way you look to get things. You've used your attractiveness and your physical appearance as a way of getting things, rather than you using your actual skills that you've learned, over the years. And you just convince yourself that the only thing you're good for is the way you look. And it just gets to a point where you just become so shallow, and you're kind of lost in within yourself, and you're thinking like, oh my God, am I even good at this? If I don't look good enough, then what the fuck am I gonna do? And like, you just start doubting yourself, and you start literally digging your own grave. And it's like really fucking scary, because I was like that for a long time. Because as I said, a lot of people have told me, the people that I used to date, have told me that the only thing good about me is the way I look. I have no personality. I am not interesting. I'm not funny. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I literally took it as a fucking like rule. I was like, okay, you're right. They're right, because that's the only thing I have, the way I look. If I don't have the way I look, then I'm lost, And it took me a long time, as I said, it took me a long time to realize that, actually I am good at a lot of things. I'm good at a lot of things, and I had to prove that to myself. I didn't need anyone else to prove it with. I did get support over the years from friends, family, anyone in my life that was, actually supporting me and actually was, pushing me to do the things I wanted to do and actually was proud of me for the things I was doing rather than the way I looked. Because I'm glad to say that I'm lucky enough to have friends and people around me who only see me for what I'm doing and who I am as a person rather than just my shell in a way, because I used to be around people who, only saw me as a fucking shell, which was not good for me because I always had to, I always felt as though I needed to perform. I needed to pretend like, oh, I need, and it was just fucked up. And it was really hard for me to like get over that and actually move away from that. As I said, I'm still struggling with it. I'm not saying that, because everyone struggles with the way they look, everyone wants to look their best. Everyone wants to be admired by society. Everyone wants to look good, which is really sad because we've gotten to a point where we only care about the way we look, which is not surprising. I mean, times are shifting. It is 2025. It's not surprising. But there are people who only care about the way they look. And it's really sad because that way you're kind of like focused only, as I said, on your shell rather than what's inside of your shell. And it's really fucked up because you kind of lose anything you have a value within yourself just because you have a good looking outside. And it's really sad. And I feel like more people should be focused on their skills and use their skills rather than, getting things by using the way they look. And it's gotten really bad. It is getting really bad. And I am part of the problem sometimes because when I feel good, I will take a picture. I will post a picture. When I feel good, I will post a story. If I feel sexy, I'll post a story. I'll post a TikTok or anything. And I'm just feeding into that whole thing. But at the same time, it's kind of gotten to a point where, I don't really have a choice. I do have to post. I do have to be online and be present because it's kind of getting to a point where this might become my job. This might become my full-time job and I have no other way but to post online and be like present online and to look my best online, which as you can clearly tell today, it's not the case. I look like shit today. I did not wash my hair today. I am wearing a hoodie and I'm sweating balls in it. I'm literally sweating, but I'm dripping. And you know what? Sweaty, gross, disgusting. I feel like it's perfect to talk about pretty privilege and narcissism and confidence because, hey, what's the best example for that? Me. Because I'm full of confidence right now. I so want to be doing this. I think my closing thoughts on these both specific themes are, if you're only focused on the way you look, you're not going to get anywhere. Like, because beauty fades. We cannot be like pretty all the time. If you get like so many plastic surgeries, all power to you. Whatever you want to do it. Beauty fades and death is inevitable. Sorry to be Debbie Downer, but it is true. So would you rather spend your time trying to look your best all the time and getting the things you want by the way you look? Or would you actually want to like hone in your skills and like learn new things and like grow as a person rather than just, staying the same person inside and just putting on that mask every damn time? It's just sad. And about the narcissism, I think if you really try to have more sympathy and, actually start thinking about others more than yourself, I feel like people could get better. But at the same time, I do not have the narcissistic personality disorder, so I wouldn't know how to deal with that. I've seen narcissistic people. I think I dated one, as I said. I'm not sure. Don't attack me. If that motherfucker is watching, all part of you, King. I am not saying you're narcissistic, but I'm just, that's what I've seen. Some narcissistic behavior here and there, but I'm not saying you are. Okay, stay safe. It's just hard because people who use their looks to get things are often seen as narcissistic, and I don't think that's the case. I think narcissism and using pretty privilege are similar. They are connected in the way, but they're not the same thing as we've seen. Because narcissism is a whole other disorder. Pretty privilege is just pretty privilege. I think it's just you're using your looks as a way of getting things. But narcissism is like you only give a fuck about yourself. Like you have zero empathy. And to me, that's just evil. To me, we should be empathetic. people are people, and people are created to be empathetic and good to one another. And when you are kind of, and when you only care about yourself and you have zero empathy for anyone around you, that's when I'm like, okay, you're evil. Because yes, people should, caring about yourself and, да слагаш себе си на първо място е най-важното нещо, което трябва да направиш винаги. Винаги трябва ти да си на първо място. But that's not to say that you should only put yourself on a pedestal and not care about anyone else, because we are social creatures. I mean, you do need people around you to like be a normal functioning human being. And, if you just only care about yourself and you're only focusing about what you're getting and only focus on getting that admiration and that validation from people, you're not going to go far. I mean, yeah. But people with narcissistic personality disorders usually get better and, learn that, you can be more empathetic. It's fine. It's okay. But I think it takes time, therapy, and as we read, medication, I guess. I wouldn't know though. So I can't really give anyone advice about being narcissistic because I wouldn't fucking know. I used to be, I still am, a person who puts everyone else above themselves. But, I learned to put myself first and then everyone else. But it's always been a hard thing for me. So I wouldn't call myself narcissistic at all. But to each their own, I guess. I was called narcissistic for a long time in high school. So maybe I have some characteristics of narcissism, but I wouldn't say I'm narcissistic. I think this video was very interesting and very weird for me to talk about because I'm still struggling with, confidence and pretty privilege and all those things. But pretty privilege to me started existing. It's always existed. I don't think people have paid that much attention to it. And also I think it's kind of ruining our way of thinking about ourselves. And it shouldn't be normalized, to say the least. If you do use your attractiveness as a way of getting things, all part of you. As I said, do what you want. I'm not here to judge. But also make sure you actually love the way you look and feel inside rather than just loving the way you look outside. And with narcissism, get help. I mean, really. There's your girl, get help. And if someone calls you a narcissist, actually think about what you're doing and, make sure to really think about that. Because I was called a narcissist for a long time and I was just like, what the fuck? I'm not a fucking narcissist. And then I started acting like one and people called me a narcissist even more. So really just like, first of all, don't take anything to heart. If someone calls you a narcissist just because you love the way you look and you're confident in the way you do things and stuff like that, fuck them. Literally, because that's not narcissism. If you're confident, that doesn't mean automatically narcissism. That just means you're confident. But if you have no empathy for others and you only care about getting compliments and getting admiration, maybe you should take yourself into a mental hospital. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed this short episode because it was kind of short, to be honest. I hope you like this new vibe we have going on. It's very dark. It's very cool. It's very pink. It might look a little bit orange, but it is pink. It is pink, I promise. And I will be seeing you on the next one. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, follow my podcast on Instagram because I do post vlogs here and there sometimes. I will be posting more, so stay tuned for that. And also, there's not a lot of time left for Halloween, so I will be posting a spooky episode next week. So get ready for that. Really excited for the spooky episode. And I will be seeing you on the next one. Hopefully I don't need to get to the AR again because I'm sick. Okay. And yeah, stay safe. Eat good food, drink water, tell everyone in your life that you love them and you cared about them, and take care of yourself as well. And yeah, stay safe, y'all. Bye.